guys, I am Shane Davis, 20-year comic book veteran. I'm here with Yanzi, and today we are talking about what if DC Comics decided to license out their properties? What does that look like? We are talking about bottom of the barrel comic book sales, a lot of woke agendas being thrown at the wall to see what sticks. We went through the Pride month that turned into Pride year. Most of the DC Comics library has came out as bisexual or just gay. And do we have sales to represent that new audience that they were so chasing so hard? Not really. So we talked about this, but this struck me as something of interest to me, and it kind of reminded me of an old article. And I kind of want to put this into focus here, but recently, looked like Thundercats Dynamite is selling over 100,000 copies. By the time this is done, this will look, if I had to guess, it has to be 120, 130 maybe. The reason this is interesting is because usually we assume Batman sells 100,000 copies. So if Thundercats sells 100,000 copies, it's not going to look like that when it's put on the ICV2 charts. I don't know where it'll place, but it technically is probably selling a lot more than Batman. So how does Thundercats sell more than Batman? We talked about it in a video. My idea is it looks like a fresh, clean slate, so to speak, of a character that people come to have knowledge of, an action adventure, all of that stuff, good versus evil, fun cast of characters, dynamic colors and costumes, all of the stuff you usually get from a superhero comic, but not really agendas. That stuff's not there. That brings me to this.
So looking at the properties that Dynamite has acquired from Warner Brothers Discovery, the titles are Thundercats, Flintstones, Powerpuff Girls, Space Ghosts, Johnny Quest, We Bare Bears, and the interesting one is Wizard of Oz, which, as we know, originated as a book, then became a very popular movie. Now, I want to point out one thing though. So you look at all these titles here. These are all titles from the 80s and the 90s, basically, with the exception of We Bare Bears, which is a bit newer. But they are basically going for that nostalgia box, as I called it. The generation that grew up on all these cartoons, and they're like, maybe I'd like to see it in comic form this time around. So the interesting thing would be when you do all these properties, can you remake them per se? How far can you remake Thundercats or Powerpuff Girls before it's no longer like the original property? Now we know there was an attempt to do a CW live action Powerpuff Girls. That thing went nowhere. Why? Because we saw the leaks of the script. It was horrible. It was all women power. Oh, Professor Utonium, how dare you exploit our labors, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. And people were not interested in it. So it didn't even make it past the first episode shooting, as far as I know. No pilots shot even. So what does that leave us now? It leaves us with the fact that Dynamite acquired all these old properties that maybe, Warner Brothers thinks, it's not really traditional comic book titles to us. It's not Batman or Superman. We'll let these guys play around in the ball pit for a while, see how it turns out. And as it turns out, it did very, very well. After all, according to how they calculate comic book sales now, 100,000 copies is considered Batman level sales. So when the ICV2 chart comes out for the month when Thundercat comes out, which is February, it's probably going to be ranked above Batman just based on that fact.
Right.
So that brings us to the question of, imagine when the other ones come out. Flintstones, Powerpuff Girls, where would they rank?
So this is what I'm kind of hung up on when I saw this news. Working at DC Comics, I even drawn some of the Hanna-Barbera stuff, worked in with Superman and stuff like that. The company really wants to bring these properties out every now and then, just renew the trademark, copyright, do something with the character, whether it's Space Ghost, Powerpuff Girls. They used to have Cartoon Network books a long time ago. They did an initiative with the Flintstones. Dynamite, though, these properties are so unique and diverse from one another. I mean, maybe there's a nerve hit here with Space Ghost and Johnny Quest that you could summon Space Ghost and Thundercats as kind of being kind of superhero based, sort of, at least in appearance. The Flintstones, Wizard of Oz, We Bare Bears, Powerpuff Girls, these things are completely different demographics. They don't necessarily all have to hit 100,000 copies sold to impress Warner Brothers. Some of it's just they need good reviews, adequate sales, things like this. Looks like on a spreadsheet the staff at DC Comics can't service Warner Brothers or Discovery. They can't do very simple things with intellectual properties and make a 22-page comic. And that's what interests me about this when I first saw this months ago, is just how it seems like an experiment. I'm just going to say it. It seems like somebody at Warner Brothers is really wanting the data. And I'm going to say Dynamite's probably going to do what they can to impress Warner Brothers. There hasn't been creative teams that's really caught my eye on any of the books I've heard about that makes me want to go buy this. But some of these properties, they just have to lose less money than they would if DC Comics was publishing it. And what's interesting here is maybe the brand DC Comics is burnt. What if you could put a Thundercats book out through a different company and it has better customer confidence, retailer confidence, whatever, than if Thundercats came out through DC Comics? Right now, if somebody said DC Comics is doing a new Thundercats book, you're going to go, well, who's going to be gay now in the Thundercats? You see, so is the brand burnt? Do you have to? I mean, this is a really good time for DC Comics to start licensing out. And if they start licensing out, they're also, people's like, why would they do that? Well, because then they don't have to pay the staff and they let some other publisher pay them for the rights to do it. Well, you're going to go, well, they're not going to make that much comic book money. What? They're not making comic book money, right? This could be a way for them to keep their properties out there, revised, updated, and they just lose less money than they do operating a publishing division. I want to leave everybody with this thought. Every time a mega corporation buys out Marvel Comics, like when Disney bought Marvel, when AT&T bought DC Comics and Warner Brothers, or hell, going back to when Warner Brothers bought DC Comics, Warner Brothers didn't want a comic book division. They just wanted a few of the characters. And this is going to keep happening as one corporation buys these out. The comic division is just part of owning the characters. It has a lot of utility to it as far as trademark, copyright, building a new character, and owning it in like 3 months with the direct market. You basically can do that for very little money. It's got a quick turnaround time, technically. It's lightning fast if you count digital comics, if you went that route. So it has utility, but you could still do all of that and license the stuff out to another publisher. And with cost cutting and the direct market falling apart, they're going to look to apply a tourniquet to the publishing division. And there's still utility in publishing. Licensing out is the way to go. We're seeing a lot of major players rejigging licensed books right now with IDW and Image, Transformers, G.I. Joe, no longer at IDW. So something to keep an eye out. What do you think, Yanzi?
I think it'll be interesting to see which are the books that DC is going to float out to Dynamite to try out when they're superhero stable, because I totally see that happening in 2024, 2025. But, maybe I'm just speculating. Who knows?
Yep. If you guys will hit like, subscribe, ring the bell for notification. Also, we are launching Second Chance on Inglorious Rex 2 this weekend. If you guys want to get on board with any cool secret tiers, add-ons, stuff like that, just go over here for free, plug in your email address, and you will have access. You will become the elite. You will have access to secret tiers with a fight postcard, fighting poster. I'll leave you guys with a trailer for my smash hit beat 'em up monster book, Inglorious Rex 2, and we'll catch you guys again with another video.
Let out the beast.